Hello, I am Hyeon-Yeong Bae from Hanmaum Church in Chuncheon. You only live once, so I really wanted to live the most awesome life ever. I wanted a life without regrets, so I did everything I wanted to do. Then I met the living Jesus and became a witness of his resurrection. When I was in middle school, there was a really popular site that let you create your own homepage. And on this page, you could add your own background music. I didn't want to add just any song. I wanted to choose a song that sounded cool, something not a lot of people knew. So I'd listen to a lot of songs from different genres, searching for the right one. Then when I found one that sounded exactly like what I was looking for, I'd set that as my background music and be really proud of myself. But that was when I got really crazy about music. I listened to music all day long except during classes, and I was busy trying to discover new and rare songs. Rock was my favorite music genre. I especially liked brit-pop, which is what they called British modern rock music. I thought that maybe I could find more brit-pop songs in British movies, so I watched a lot of British films. I liked the soundtracks and I loved the unique British feel of the music, but some movies were pretty shockingly provocative. I was introduced to a whole new world. As I kept watching, I got so into these films, and I wanted to be as liberal and carefree as the film characters were. When I was in high school, I completely lost myself in music. Bad exam scores called for loud, screaming rock, so I would go up the hill behind our school with a friend. Then we would chase our frustrations away with the sounds of bass, drums, electric guitar, and screaming vocals, as we listened through a shared set of earphones. We got such an adrenaline rush out of it. My last year of high school was basically a daily routine of taking exams and getting drunk on rock music. Then I graduated from earphones to live concerts. I didn't stop there. I wanted to perform on stage myself. The fact that I had no musical talent whatsoever was apparently not a problem for me. So in my diary, I made a list of all the things I wanted to do after I was done applying for universities. First, go to a rock concert. Second, learn guitar. Third, perform at a music festival, etc. Then, I finally became a university student who could do all the stuff on that list. Starting my freshman year, I started having fun like my life depended on it. For one thing, I never missed out on a school party. I wanted to make sure I stayed till the very last event of the party, which was going to a karaoke bar, so I signed up to live in a dorm. I especially loved the drinking games. For example, I loved the game where you screamed and pointed to someone, and that person had to scream louder than you did. It was such a stress release. Also, we drink canned beer and lie around in random places, listening to music and acting stupid. Drinking was so much more fun because of things like that. To have even more fun, I joined my department's event committee during my sophomore year. School parties were just fun during freshman year, but after becoming staff, I had so much to do to actually plan and throw them. I tried to do my best, but I wasn't able to keep up. My mom tried to take me to small church worship every Saturday. When I went, there were about 10 people in the meeting, including my mom and me. Then we listened to the word. They said that Jesus is a historical figure and that the risen Jesus is God. The most important thing was that I had to receive Jesus as Lord in my heart, where I used to be my own Lord. Everything was explained through the resurrection of Jesus. That seemed kind of unique to me. I even wrote a testimony about what I heard, though it was pretty short. Sometimes, I went to small church after that and attended the church retreat twice too. But because the issues I had in my life seemed bigger, I'd get together with my friends and complain about how pointless life was, like I had already lived out my whole life in my 20s. Then came my junior year, and I was faced with a huge crisis. My grades were so bad that at this rate, I wasn't going to be able to send out a single resume. I couldn't keep this up. I cut down on the fun and started maintaining my GPA like a mad woman. I attended every study aid program on campus and tried hard at competitions to build my resume. I signed up for everything that sounded beneficial to me. TOEIC lectures in the morning, AM classes, lunchtime, study session, PM classes, homework. I was really busy. Some of my friends were worrying about what to do after they graduated. Then they would look at me living a really busy life and say things like, "What are you, running for president? Take a break and play with us." Because of all the things I had to do, going to small church seemed like such a waste of time. I had to pull my grades up first so I could get a job. Whenever my mom tried to take me to small church, I found every excuse not to go. And I got annoyed if I even heard the first syllable of the word resurrection. At home, my mom would turn up the only Jesus testimonies really loud. I hated hearing it, so I would promptly stuff earphones into my ears. I doubted if God really existed and if there really were heaven and hell. Okay, so let's say Jesus really did rise from the dead. Then where is he now? He went up to heaven? Are you kidding me? The Bible's probably all fake too. Things like that went through my mind, but I hated thinking about all that. So I went to a music festival with my friend where I didn't have to think about any of it. The music was blaring, and everyone there, myself included, rocked our hearts out like we were having the greatest time of our lives. I just loved the world, and I wanted to enjoy my youth because I wasn't ever going to get it back. But my mom never gave up on me. They say that no parent can ever win with their kid. Well, my mom did. She said, "This is the last time I'll ask you to go to a summer retreat. I'll never ask you to another small church meeting again, I promise." So I was dragged to another retreat as I triple-checked the part about it being the last time. I heard that about 1,000 people from outside Chuncheon were coming to the summer retreat. It was crazy. I wondered what in the world was making all those people come all the way here. But even up to that point, I didn't have a single clue about what would end up happening to me through that retreat. All I could think about was that, in just a few days, I'd be free forever. As I expected, the pastor began with, "The resurrection is a sure material proof. God left us a proof behind." The preaching was filled with the words resurrection and proof. I had heard the part about how he had given everyone a proof they can believe so many times. And I had already seen all the video clips the pastor showed at every retreat, so I really didn't feel anything. Then it was prayer time, and the pastor led us in a prayer of repentance for a long time. I had nothing to pray about because I doubted the existence of God. But the prayer time didn't seem like it was going to end anytime soon, and after a few minutes, I finally opened my mouth. "Lord, do you really even exist? If you do, show me. If you show me, that's when I'll believe. I don't even want to pray right now, and I don't want to read the Bible either." I kept saying this over and over. Then God reminded me of some things, and they went through my mind like a film reel. He reminded me that Jesus was a great historical figure, someone who had actually existed, and that there were written records about Jesus' resurrection. He also reminded me that we were living with a timeline that was divided into BC and AD based on his year of birth. All this time, I had diligently studied history, memorizing facts and believing all of them without any doubt. Well, Jesus and his resurrection were part of history too. There were even witnesses who had seen him raised. So how could you think that this was just a made-up myth? I literally gasped. It was so shocking. Out of all of mankind, out of even all of the greatest religious figures who had ever lived, only Jesus had risen from the dead. Jesus really was God. At that moment, I realized that this Jesus, who had been crucified, was God. He had died and risen again to be my Lord. This was why the resurrection was a proof you could believe. All of this was crashing into my heart, and I began to gasp and cry. Jesus' resurrection made the Bible, the book I had doubted so much all this time, true, without a doubt. The Bible was a historical record, and in it, God really had promised that He would raise Jesus again. But because I couldn't confirm it with my own eyes, I didn't think that I should let go of the things I wanted for a God I couldn't see. That was why I had trampled on Jesus and lived as the Lord of myself. In the world, I strove to work hard and play hard, but I did this completely as my own God in my heart. I was like the devil. I could feel the heart of God, who loved me so much that He wanted to save me, even by killing His own Son. God had even watched me living as my own Lord, always waiting for me to come back to His arms. But I had been someone who told God to leave me alone, to mind His own business, that I was fine going to hell, so please, just let me do what I want. As I was reminded of that, I realized that I was worse than the devil. I had to repent in tears. As the fact that God is alive was proven through Jesus' resurrection, I had to kneel before the Creator God who had made me. That was when I finally accepted my true Master, the risen Jesus, as Lord in my heart.
Amen.
Before, I had been the master of my life, and I thought I had to make the most of this short time, so I tried hard to live the coolest life. But now that I knew that this world wasn't the end, and that there's an eternal kingdom, I didn't have to stake my life on this world anymore. Our citizenship is in heaven only. My identity on this earth wasn't just a youth anymore, but a citizen of heaven and a kingly priest. Then it was obvious that what I had to do on this earth wasn't planning a great 20s, but becoming a witness of the resurrection and sharing the living Jesus, just like the ones who had seen Him did. After the retreat, I wanted to share this good news with my family, friends, and everyone else I knew. I began to pray sincerely and eagerly as I came to hope that we'd all go to heaven together. At the same time, I could understand how my mom and God must have felt, sticking by me and coming this far with me, and I couldn't help but be thankful. When I got home, I was filled with the gospel and really passionate. I wanted to share the gospel so badly. Then I saw my younger sister who was lying on the floor playing with her cell phone. So I went to her and told her in the warmest, kindest voice she had probably never heard me use before. Do you believe in the risen Jesus? Do you believe that heaven and hell exist? Then my sister looked at me seriously and said, Were you drugged at that retreat? Then she refused to listen to me. So I gave her an incentive. I normally fought with her a lot over my clothes and shoes because she always wanted to borrow them. But now Jesus was my Lord, right? So I said, You can wear all of my shoes and clothes. None of that's mine anymore. It all belongs to Jesus. My sister hesitated, then said, Well, that's a plus, as she gave me an evil little smile. Originally, I planned to go to a music festival after the retreat. I had even bought the ticket 7 months ahead so I could buy it cheap. But now, my priority wasn't my own pleasure, but the Lord, my Master. So I told the friend I was supposed to go with, I really believe in Jesus now, so I can't go to the concert anymore. I'm sorry. Then I sold the ticket right away. Then another friend said to me, You sold that ticket? You? You must need money really bad. Also, I used to hate hearing the sound of the Only Jesus theme song, but now I watch the testimonies every day. My mom and I both turn up the volume really loud so our home is always overflowing with the gospel. The stories about the resurrection gospel were so much fun. I wouldn't want to watch these fun stories alone, right? So I shared the YouTube links to the testimonies with the people I knew and told them to please watch because I wanted us to go to heaven together. A lot of church members have given their testimonies, so it's really fun to pick and choose which ones to send. All I had to do was share the gospel as a missionary sent to this world and leave the rest up to the Lord, my master. When I was a senior, I became the class president. That made me the mediator between professors and students. Then one day, I had an advising session with the professor about my career. The professor wanted to help students find good jobs, so he organized a lot of special lectures for them. Before, I would have gone to all of those lectures, even during the weekends, but now attending small church came first. So I said, I really thank you for being so considerate of me, but I can't attend that lecture because I have a church meeting that day. Then he said, you're going to regret it later, for sure. So I told him the verse about seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things being given to you as well. And I said, I have something for you because I care very much about you, Professor, and gave him a gospel tract. I'm so peaceful now that I trust everything to the Lord. One day, while I was sharing the gospel of the resurrection with a friend, she said, Hey, does that mean you're going to try to quit drinking again? I said, yes, but she said, you're not going to last a month. Let's see how long you last this time. You always say you're going to quit after every retreat, but you never do it. It was true. Every time after a retreat, I'd say I'd quit drinking. Back then, Jesus' resurrection had just been a piece of knowledge in my head, and I'd still been my own Lord. So a few days later, my promise would turn to a lie. But now, Jesus is truly my Lord. Everything is certain, and He is watching me. So I can't dare drink in front of Him and dirty my body, which is like a holy temple because He lives in it. Jesus had fulfilled everything, and all I had to do was enjoy it all in faith. But all this time, I had bought trouble for myself. Now, I always carry gospel tracts with me because I want to enjoy this great news with others. I give tracts to my friends while we're talking. I also give them to homeless people on the streets when they ask me for help. When I was the Lord of myself, I was anxious, not knowing what to do, because I felt like I had to do this and that and everything else to have a great life while I was still young. But now, I pray to my Lord first and ask Him, You only live once. I want to spend my youth being a witness of the resurrection, living in joy and freedom as I testify to the gospel of the resurrection. I hope to become a heavenly family with everyone on this earth. Thank you.